Warning. The content of this show is the sole opinion of Dave's and guest, if any, and is not intended to ruffle your feathers. It is encouraged, however, that you leave a comment with a list of your own so that you may share your input on the topic. Any comment containing sour grapes will be deleted.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the list. Today, the year is 1989. The guest is Hugh Caldwell. Hugh and I have done 1971 and 1979. Today, we're taking on 1989. And Hugh, what were your thoughts going into this?
At first, I thought I maybe have 3 or 4 really great albums, but as I delved in a bit deeper, I realised there was quite a few more.
Right. Yeah, I thought this year was a better year for singles. A lot of great songs came out this year, but full albums that were great, it wasn't as much. But the more I dug in, there on my list is about 13 phenomenal records and then about 3 more honorable mentions. But actually, I have 8 honorable mentions, and we'll do those at the end.
No worries.
So this is interesting because you grew up across the pond in Scotland, and I grew up and was still living in Boston at this time. But a lot of music in the Boston area always comes from Europe. So it'll be an interesting list. But nonetheless, let's jump right in, shall we?
Okay.
So my number 10 is an industrial album, which was at this time almost a new style of music. And it is 9 Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine. This album came out. I absolutely loved it. I even loved the B-sides. They did Get Down, Make Love from Queen. And just everything they did on this album, Down in It, Head Like a Hole. I really liked this record a lot.
Some Trent Reznor.
Yeah.
I won't say too much on that in a minute. My number 10 for 1989 is Dave, Billy Joel and Stormfront.
Wow.
There is a guy in the UK who does a lot of Billy Joel tribute stuff called Elio Pace. He's been doing Billy Joel albums in concert from the beginning all the way through each album.
Yes.
I've seen them all. And when it came to Stormfront, it was the most overlooked of Billy Joel's albums for me. I hadn't really delved into it deep. And when I went back to it again, after he played them all live, I'm thinking, this is really good.
The funny thing about Stormfront is it has a lot of hits, but one of my all-time favorite songs by him is on this album called And So It Goes.
So It Goes. Brilliant.
It's one of the most gorgeous songs that I think he's ever written.
Best song on the album.
I put it right there with Summer Highland Falls off of Turnstiles. I think And So It Goes is an overlooked song. The album was really poppy for me, so I stayed away from it, but I can see how some people would love it.
I actually just found that the songs translated really well live. I really enjoyed it.
Isn't Shameless on this record?
Yeah.
And We Didn't Start the Fire?
We Didn't Start the Fire, When in Rome.
Down East Alexa?
State of Grace, remember that one?
State of Grace, great. Yep. Yeah, very good.
So that's my number 10. My number 9 for 1989 is Kate Bush and The Sensual World. I think it's possibly her most balanced album. Every song flows into each other.
Was this woman's work on this record?
It is, yes.
Yeah. It's a great song. That, I think Love and Anger is another great song on that album.
Love and Anger. I think it's just a very balanced album. It's from start to finish, it's a great piece of work. Love it. I think it's great.
Excellent. My number 9 is a British act called Soul to Soul.
Okay.
Club Classics Volume 1. Keep on moving. However do you want it? Everything. I love Karen Wheeler's voice. I love the sound of this record. To me, this was a very important record bringing in the 90s, even though it came in at 89. It really was that change of club music into pop music, which I really liked.
Yep, that was huge over here. I remember listening to that album, but not in a lot of great detail, so that's probably why I've not got it in my list. But I can remember a lot of the songs, Back to Life, all that kind of stuff's really nice. So,
right. Oh, yeah, Back to Life, and then parentheses, However Do You Want It. And Fair Play was another great song. I liked the record a lot. I liked Karen Wheeler's voice. In fact, a year or so later, she did a solo record, and I loved it.
I think she also worked with a group called the Blow Monkeys.
Okay.
She collaborated with them as well.
I'll have to check that out. My number 8 is another dancey type record. In fact, I loved this album. I make no apologies about it. It is Rhythm Nation by Janet Jackson.
Okay.
I think every song in this album is great. There's so many good songs on it. The last 3 mellow songs in the album are fantastic. I think Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis are fantastic writers, but I couldn't say enough good things about this album.
I couldn't say anything about it, to be honest. Only because I don't remember anything of it.
Okay. All her hits, I Miss You Much, Escapade, Black Cat.
Right. I don't remember a lot of this.
Okay, that's all right.
My number 8 for 1989 is a band from Boston called Aerosmith. It's Pump.
Wow.
I always think the 3 albums, Permanent Vacation, Pump, and Get a Grip, get looked down upon compared to all the older stuff.
Yeah.
And, oh yes, they're not as good, but I think they are still really good in comparison to what a lot of the other stuff was like at the time.
When Pump came out, I thought it was a really good record. Over time, it has soured with me.
Right.
I found that the songs were overplayed. It was a little too syrupy. And I am one of those people that'll frown upon those 3 records and look to their early stuff. I just feel like that other writers were getting involved and it was becoming a machine and not a couple of guys writing rock and roll tunes. And so for me, that's where I laid away from it.
As I say, it's not in the same league of it. I know that as Toys in the Attic and stuff like that.
Right.
But I still think it's really, really good quality stuff like Janie's Got a Gun. Great rock song, Fine. A cracking riff to it. Obviously, you've got Love in an Elevator, the big single. I just liked it at the time, and I still like it. So that's my number 8. Okay, interesting one coming up next, Dave.
Okay.
My number 7, which I think it could be on your list, it might not, I don't know, is a band called The Mind Bomb.
I've heard of them.
Mr. Johnson. Now, this album could be number 1 for me because I think nothing else sounds like it anywhere.
Yeah.
I still actually can't categorize properly his music.
I mean, Mind Bomb's a fantastic record. Matt Johnson, the drumming of the David Palmer, just great.
Songs like The Violence of Truth,
Oh, yeah.
August and September, Kingdom of Rain. It's just class.
Beautiful
stuff.
Matt Johnson's a genius. There's no getting around it.
I think so. So that's it. Number 7.
My number 7 is a record that I also think will be on your list. And it is Tears for Fears, The Seeds of Love.
Mm-hmm.
This record, Woman in Chains, Advice for the Young at Heart, the title cut, Seeds of Love, to me, just a great record, brilliantly produced. It reminds me of Listen Without Prejudice as being such a big album. And then Older, I always thought was a better album with better songs, but better production and overlooked. I feel that way about The Seeds of Love. I loved this record, and it's my number 7.
I agree with everything you just said there. That's an absolute epic.
My number 6 album is an album that is a really big record here, loved by many. It is Don Henley, The End of Innocence. I think it's a fantastic record. So many songs I love on it. The whole vibe of the album, it's an album you can put on and listen straight through. And I'm going to say it's a perfect album.
Classic album. So many hits. Not a lot more to say, really.
Right. Great.
Okay, my number 6 as well, Dave, is Don Henley.
Are you kidding?
End of Innocence. Yeah, it's mine too.
Oh, that's excellent.
It's just great. You can't even review it. Just tell people to put it on and listen to it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, Last Worthless Evening, Heart of the Matter, End of Innocence. It's great. Just great.
It's not as if he does a lot of solo albums either.
Yes.
Okay, Dave. My number 5 for 1989 is a band from England called XTC, Oranges and Lemons.
Mayor Simpleton.
Mayor Simpleton, King for a Day, Scarecrow People, Cynical Days, The Loving, One of the Millions. It's full of very brilliant art rock that's only that band could do.
Yeah.
Nobody sounds like them.
Yeah, I was saying with Krellbar the other day, there's every song I've heard by Andy Partridge I liked, and yet I've never really delved into their records, and I have to. I'm definitely going to check that one out because I love Mayor of Simpleton. I heard it the other day on the radio, and it's still a great song. Very clever.
Go right back to the late 70s, still great then.
Yeah.
Even at the beginning, so fantastic band. That's my number 5.
So my number 5 is a country record by Steve Wariner called I Got Dreams. Steve Wariner it's no secret, he's one of my all-time favorite country artists. This record was a great record. This record has so many great songs. The title track, I Got Dreams, Where Did I Go Wrong? When I Could Come Home to You, I Could Get Lucky Tonight. I love it. Just a fantastic record.
I will have to listen to that. I'm a fan of his playing.
Oh, he's great.
I can't say I've listened to albums. I've just listened to wee bits here and there, you know. I shall check that out for definite.
So my number 4, oddly enough, is another country record. It is Lyle Lovett and his large band. Now, this album is interesting because the first side of this record is more of Lyle Lovett doing his big band, large band stuff. It's not very country. It's a little gospel-y, but big bandish. Side 2 is the country side where it's just brilliant. Songs like Nobody Knows Me, If You Were to Wake Up, He Does Stand By Your Man. It's just a phenomenal record. I would recommend everybody check out this album and hear how great Lyle Lovett is.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I love it. I have to admit, I have that album, but I haven't listened to it for years.
Yeah.
I'll need to dig it back out again. I've actually got it on vinyl.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, big fan of Lyle. I think he's one of the great storytellers of country. Number 4 for me is an album I bought not having a huge lot of expectations for, but I was a huge fan of this guy's main band before he went solo. The album is by David Byrne. It's called Ray Momo. And it's his tribute to Latin, Cuban, Brazilian music that he is absolutely fantastic at. If you go back to the previous Talking Heads final album, which was called Naked, which was the year before, you could hear the influence of that coming into his music, and then he's fully found it in this solo album. I think it's amazing. Oh, it's perfect, actually. It's really good.
I don't know what to say about this album other than I saw the tour.
Right.
And there are 13 people in Danny's apartment. Right. I love this album. For me, it's an honorable mention in mine.
Right.
I absolutely love the record. I haven't listened to it in a long time. And one of the last times I listened to it, some of the stuff didn't hit me as it originally did back in '89. It's one of the ones I wrestled with. It's a fantastic record.
Well, I will be honest, it was in and out my list as well. But I kept going back to it again, and I went back and listened to it a few more times.
Oh, you did?
I did. And the song just puts a big smile on my face. The whole album does.
Yeah.
Love it.
Awesome.
Okay. Number 3 for me, 1989. It's a fantastic album by Tears for Fears called Seeds of Love. It's an epic, classic, massive album that I remember a few UK critics calling it overblown and bloated. And I was like, what do you know? What do you know?
Not much.
It's full of amazing songs. I can actually remember that before I'd heard anything off the album, I turned the radio on one Saturday afternoon and we're playing new releases. And Seeds of Love, the song came on. And 3 minutes in, I'm going, this is like a long-lost Beatles classic.
Yeah.
You know, like something from Magical Mystery Tour, but modernised.
Right.
And I was, since then, see, I'm a huge fan of the band anyway, but that album is class. I love it.
Yeah, really great. So my number 3 is an album that I'm not sure if you've heard of. Oh, wait, it's on your list. The Mind Bomb. So tracks that really grab at me: Good Morning Beautiful, The Violence of Truth.
Oh, my favorite.
Gravitate to Me.
Yeah.
Just awesome. Matt Johnson, amazing. Johnny Marr is on this record. It is just an absolute great album. There was a single that wasn't on the album that I absolutely loved that came out as a B-side around this time called Jealous of Youth.
Jealous of Youth.
And I loved that song. Right. And I love the whole Mind Bomb album. I'm a huge The fan, and that's my number 3. Okay, so my number 2, and now we're getting to the real nitty-gritty of 1989 and what I was all about. My number 2 is a band that I think it might be their third or second really great album, because some of the earlier stuff I liked, I didn't love. The album before this and this is the third great album, and it's easily their best album, but this is The Cure, Disintegration. Fascination Street, Disintegration, Prayers for Rain, Plain Song, Lullaby. The album's just ridiculous.
Pictures of You.
Pictures of You. Love Song.
It's one of the albums as well. What I love about it especially is there's quite a long instrumental piece,
Yes.
part to each song before the lyrics start.
Yes, they do the builds up where they introduce an instrument and then another part and then another part, and then they put them all together and they do it over time, and then the song kicks in, and it's really great.
Yeah, that's absolute classic. Couldn't say any more than that. That's your number 2.
Yes.
Well, my number 2 is that's other band called The Cure, Disintegration.
I knew it was going to be your number 2.
Everything you said, I totally agree with. It is by a country mile their best album.
Yes.
I could listen to it any day of the week and never get bored of it.
Yeah, you see, like, I liked, like, The Top, I thought was a decent record. Like, it was the first of the really good stuff. And then Head on the Door's genius. Kiss Me's genius. And then it's a grand slam. This thing was just unbelievable. Just unbelievable.
Just the actual sound of the thing.
Unbelievable.
Like, oh, wow.
Brooding, moody, powerful. I can't say enough great things about this record.
Yep. Totally at their peak.
Yes, agreed.
My number 1 for 1989, Dave, is a little band from Glasgow called The Blue Nile.
Oh, what a shocker that was.
Hats.
Excellent.
It's a perfect album. There's only 7 songs. Every one is a classic. It has an atmosphere like no other album. It's beautifully produced, beautifully sung on. You have songs like From a Late Night Train. Everything's so atmospheric. Downtown Lights, Headlights on the Parade, Let's Go Out Tonight. I could just go through all the songs. It's so much a classic. You can imagine it in a movie noir film soundtrack. Just it's brooding and melancholic, but it just goes along with this. There's high points in it as well, and it's very much an industrial city album.
I agree with all that.
So,
in fact, my number 1 is also the Blue Nile Hats. And for me, just the opening song, Over the Hillside. Songs like 7 a.m. Let's Go Out Tonight is so haunting. There's something about it. It's a melancholy working man's ambient record. There's nothing lazy about this. It's just fantastic. You're right. The vocals on this record are perfect. The music, even the Lynn drum machines, as cheesy as that drum machine can be on this record, it means something. And it's just a great record. It's easily one of my all-time favorite albums of all time.
Me too.
And I stumbled upon this band by accident. I was home one night. It was in '89, and it was probably September. And they were airing this special about the Blue Nile on MTV. And they were talking about the songs from the first album, A Walk Across the Rooftops, and how it took them 6 years or 5 years, whatever it was, a long time, I think it was 6 years, to release an album or to work on an album. And they were talking about this album being released. And so in my mind, I'm like, I got to go to the store and look for this. And like a month later, it's in the stores. I see it. I get it. They didn't do it justice. They got me excited enough to buy the record, but I can't talk enough about the album. I saw them live on the tour, and I know you did too. We saw them probably a few weeks apart.
Correct, yeah.
And it was just an amazing show. hearing those songs come to life and watching like 5 or 6 guys do it on stage, and you have these guys with these big keyboards playing all these lush parts, and it sounded like an orchestra, and you had 3 guys on like all these synths and everything. It was amazing.
I seen them in a concert hall, so that already had the great acoustics.
Yes.
And I was just sitting back going, oh yeah.
It was unbelievable. It was one of the greatest, and he was one of the most humble singers, and I still think today that he's one of the best. Everything Paul Buchanan does, I love. I can't say enough the good things about the Blue Nile, except I got this poster at the show. They had him on stage, and I was like, can I take one of these? He's like, grab it. Grabbed it. My buddy got the square one. It looked like the album, and then had all 3 guys sign it. I wasn't into signatures. I didn't want them to sign it. I probably should have, but I went and got that thing framed that week, and I've had that ever since that tour. And I think I saw them sometime early 90 or late 89. I can't remember the exact dates. It was the 5th show they've ever played.
The last thing I would say about the album is it knows where to you. It's a very spacious album. They don't put instruments where it don't belong. Everything just sits where it should.
Right.
And they leave space as well, which makes for it sounding even better, you know. So it's wonderful stuff.
Excellent. Okay, so let's talk about our honorable mentions. I'll go first on that, and you can go. So for my honorable mentions, I just want to start and say that the one that you had on your list, the only one that I had in my honorable mentions, is David Byrne, Hey Momo. Now, I used to call it Ray Momo, and I think one of the Brazilian guys, when I was listening to this record, said it was pronounced Hey Momo. I don't know. Right. Everyone always calls it Ray Momo, but anyways, it is a fantastic record. It did not make my list, but I love that album, and any day of the week, it's interchangeable in my number 10 spot, could even interchange in my number 9 spot. Also on my honorable mentions was Peter Gabriel, Passion. I absolutely loved this album. This was original music that he scored, and it is absolutely fantastic. It is a great record if you just want some ambient music. Also on my list is the B-52's Cosmic Thing. Now, we're all sick to death of Love Shack. However, I loved every song on this album. Rome, Follow Your Bliss, Channel Z. I loved it. I thought this record was a great record for them. In fact, I thought it was their best album since their first album. Also on my list was Chris Isaak, Heart-Shaped World. This was the album with Wicked Game, but the whole record has a really nice vibe. I thought his sound back then was excellent, and he was up and coming. I also had on this Bonnie Raitt, Nick of Time.
All right.
I thought that record had a great sound. It's definitely not one of my favorite records, but I thought it should be mentioned. Tone Loc, Loked After Dark, was a fantastic record I wanted to mention. And that's about it. I had a couple of ones that I thought, in how I said this was a great year for singles over albums. I really loved Peter Murphy's Cuts You Up, and I love the song Marlene Dietrich's Favorite Joke. However, the album Deep didn't do it for me as a whole album. And I also thought David Sylvian this year with Flux and Mutability was a cool record, just doesn't make the grade for me.
Me too. I like David Sylvian, but it's not one of my favourites.
Agreed.
A couple that you said there were in my list too. 9 Inch Nails. Chris Isaak, funny enough. I love how he does all the old surf pops with kind of almost Ronette stuff mixed in together.
Yeah.
It's very, very unique. Lenny Kravitz, first album.
That's right. Let Love Rule. Mm-hmm.
I like it in parts, but it's not polished enough for me.
Agreed.
A band called De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising.
Yep. Me, Myself, and I.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Rolling Stones had a wee album out called Steel Wheels.
Steel Wheels is another great record for that time. My problem with Steel Wheels was I felt some of the songs were very derivative of Keith Richards' solo record 2 years earlier.
Which was good.
Which was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But I just felt like the songs were like the same riffs, and now Mick is singing over them.
Right.
And they're not as good.
I agree. I quite liked the Soundgarden had an album out that year too.
Louder Than Love.
Louder Than Love, which, again, not my favourite Soundgarden album, but I thought I would mention it anyway. Queen, The Miracle, which was just, I would say, a quarter of a good album.
Yeah. Yeah, not a favorite of mine.
Me either. The Cult, Sonic Temple.
Oh, that was a decent record.
That was okay.
Yep.
Eric Clapton, Journeyman.
Journeyman was a good record.
Some of the blues tracks in it were bad.
Right. I never cared for Old Love. I know some people that love to go out and perform Old Love. I think it stinks. And
that's
so
horrible.
For me, that took it out of the running.
That makes me
whereas I like August a lot, I thought Journeyman didn't quite reach that level.
Correct. And finally, there's a little band you've probably never heard of from England called The Primitives.
I remember the name. I don't know the music.
They had one international hit called Crash.
Okay.
Which was a really, really cool single, actually.
Yeah.
But other than that, they had an album in 1989 called Pure, and it's indie pop with a touch of kind of punkiness about it.
Right, I'll check it out.
I'll love it.
I'll check it out. I'll check that out. All right, everybody, that's our list from 1989. We have quite a few of the sames on the list, which is pretty crazy to me. And our 1 and 2 are the same, which is excellent. That tells you guys everyone should run out and get the Cure Disintegration and the Blue Nile hats. I will post our lists at the end here. In the comments, please tell us your 10 favorite albums from 1989. We would love to see what you guys think. Hugh, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure, Dave.
We'll do it again soon. And everybody,
love to.
very good.
Bye-bye.